What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to get the rear shocks fitted, we're going to get our brakes situated, and we're going to tear the front end apart to re-grease these bearings. So stay tuned. I went to go freaking put this caliper on and my freaking stool broke. What the frick? Thanks for joining us for another video on the DNA Performance YouTube channel. My name is Doug. And before we get started, you guys, make sure you go hit that like button if you haven't already. Comment down below what you guys think of the video, and do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. So today what we're going to do is we're going to get our Viking shocks mounted up in the rear. We have a little fitment issue. If you guys remember when we were putting in the 9-inch, that our shock body was actually hitting this calvert, the little our leaf spring mount basically, or kind of what holds the leaf spring together. So we're going to have to figure out if we're grinding on this or anything like that. So we can't really grind on the shock body just because it's very thin, and that's something you really don't want to mess with. I mean, that's not something you want to mess with either, but we'll figure it out. So we're going to go ahead and actually re-grease the front wheel bearings because I had the wrong grease in there. And to eliminate any further damage or any damage at all, we're going to go ahead and pop everything off, re-grease it, and at the same time we're going to replace our CPP upper control arm ball joint bushings because they just decided to explode on us. So last video I covered that Summit Racing was kind enough to send us some energy suspension ball joint boots, which is super awesome of them. They did not have to do that, absolutely, but it's great that they backed the product that they sell, even though it's not even their product. So the guys from CPP weren't willing to work with us, so whatever, we'll move past it. And then also we'll go ahead and show you guys our brakes in the back. We had a fitting issue, so I got 90 on there. It looks like it's going to clear very well. We won't know until we put the shock body back in, and I also got a 45-degree fitting just in case that 90 is not going to work. So we'll go ahead and see what's going to fit the best and go from there. The first thing we're going to get started on is situating the brake in the rear, the driver's side brake caliper. I'm going to go ahead and put the shock in to see if it clears, and if it doesn't clear, we're going to go ahead and put the 45-degree fitting in there. All right, so that's the first win of the day. I don't know if you guys can see how much room is right there. Not a lot, but definitely more than what we had. So we're going to call that a win and move on. Moving on to the passenger side. This is where we're having our issue right here. This is as far down as the shock as I can get it. So right now we're hitting this little bolt, and this is the bolt. I guess it's some type of bracket that probably holds the two leaves together because these are a split mono leaf design. So I'm imagining those are some type of crucial support for the leaf spring. So I'm not sure if we can actually move these back, or actually how they're kind of put in place. I think there's a tab. Yeah, see, there's like a bolt under here or something. So I'm not going to be able to move those. So I've seen some other guys in the past, they actually kind of grind down on that bolt and that bracket just a little bit, just to get enough clearance like we did on the other side with the brake line. So I think I'm going to whip out the grinder and go ahead and just start shaving this down just a little by little until we get the most absolute precise fit. All right, passenger side is done. Got the bracket ground down just enough. Kind of looks like there's no clearance here. There's a little bit of clearance here, just as much as the other side with the brake fitting. So it's just something we're gonna have to pay attention to, honestly. So as these bushings wear out, if we go ahead and bottom the shock out on this bracket, then we're just gonna either have to replace it or obviously figure out a different solution that's actually not gonna damage our equipment anymore. But for right now, it's okay. Like I said, we're just gonna have to pay attention to it, something like that. So it's probably not the safest thing to do, but neither is drag racing, so haters gonna hate. So now that we got both rear shocks in, we got the brake fitting figured out, I'm gonna go ahead and get the car jacked up, support it on the frame, get some jack stands underneath it, take the wheels off, start disassembling all the brakes, and pop the upper and possibly the lower control arms off. So we got boots to fix both. The lower seem to be doing fine. It's just the uppers that decided to leave the building. So whatever the case that may be, I don't know, cheap Chinese crap, that's what I'm assuming. Either way, we're gonna figure it out. And then someone was actually telling me that these ball joints were upside down, as in the ball joint bracket, or like the shelf of it, should be on the top. So I'm gonna test that theory. I'm gonna see if I can even do that. I don't think it's gonna work just because there is a bunch of welds in here, but I'll give it a shot and see what happens. If not, no big deal. You know, kind of rules out if it's on there correctly or not. Got the front end torn apart just enough to get to the ball joint boot, and you know, obviously these things are trashed. I mean, there's 3 tears in them. You know, and someone actually mentioned on a Facebook group that these the bolts and the nuts were hitting it, but I mean, if you look at it, like, they're not even close. Like, even if this boot went all the way up, like how torn that is. It's literally, look at that. Holy crap, dude. That's insane. Look at that. I'm just literally peeling this crap off. Like, what the hell? What kind of crap is this? Alright, whatever. We got replacements. We're gonna fix it and just move on. Well, guys, still have an issue. So this is a new ball joint boot that Summit sent us. This is energy suspension, kind of universal boots. And as you can see, it's not the right diameter. It's actually too short as well. So this is where the ball joint is actually stopping against the spindle, which is fine. It's not a big deal. So I just kind of, you know, loosely threw that back in there just so we can put some type of grease in there. Actually, really don't even matter. So, and then what we're gonna have to do is actually just order 2 new ball joints for these control arms. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna order new ones, and we're gonna order some quality ball joints. So moving on, we're gonna go ahead and take our brakes apart and get to the spindle and the bearings, and we're gonna re-grease them, and I'll show you guys all that stuff here in a second. All right, so these are our brakes, and this is our bearings right here. And as you can see, this is actually some type of aviation grease. And when I was reading into the grease, I noticed that it wasn't a high temp grease. It's actually a low temp, and it's I can't remember the thickener that they use in it, but it's not good for wheel bearings. So it's good for like low impact areas and stuff like that, stuff that doesn't get hot, stuff that doesn't see a whole bunch of pressure. So what we're gonna do is clean all this up, and that's why we have our Redline CB2, and this is synthetic high performance extreme pressure grease with red moly. So this is load carrying, anti-wear protection, far superior to black moly disulfide greases. So this grease is going to be perfect for us, and it's actually the same brand that we used for our assembly lube. This is our high compression assembly lube that we used on the engine. So Redline makes a whole bunch of cool products, so we're going to go ahead and stick with their wheel bearing grease. All the bearings are cleaned up, all inspected. They all roll super smooth, so there's absolutely no wear on them, which is great. There's a little bit of metal shavings, but that's actually from the cotter pin rubbing against this cap. If you guys can see that little groove, and that was actually our mess up the first time we drove the car. We took them back apart, re-greased and re-cleaned everything. There's still a little bit of shavings left, but now there's none. I made sure all the bearings are super free. There's no wear on them at all, so we're okay to re-grease and go ahead and reassemble. So that's what I'm gonna show you guys right now. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, one, grab my bearing, two, grab some of the grease, and what I'm gonna do is actually grab that. Oh wow, that's messy. Probably not that much. Just put it in my palm, right? Just a nice big glob of it. Now take my bearing, and I'm actually gonna hold it with 2 fingers and kind of just do this. Just do this motion right here. And then, I don't know if you guys can see that, but see how the grease is coming through right here? So if I keep pushing in that one area, you can see the grease continue to come through. So once you get a bunch of penetration through that side, just rotate the bearing, and you're just gonna keep going, just like that. And that is how you re-grease your wheel bearings. Alright, so what you guys just saw me do is I spun it, and I made sure there was plenty of grease inside of the, we'll just call it like the hub area. That way there's plenty of grease on the back side bearing and the forward side bearing. So now what I'm going to do is actually put some preload on the bearings, and then go ahead and get them snug down to where we can go ahead and finish up the install process. So while you're doing this, just make sure you're spinning it, right? So spin the wheel, and you can see how it kind of, now it's starting to tighten up, right? So you want to make it to where it's pretty snug. Probably go about half a turn to where it's like real tight. A little bit more, back it off, keep spinning it, keep doing the same thing. You don't want to go too tight because you don't want to mash the bearings. So what I'm going to do now is back it off. I'm going to keep going until I just get some resistance spinning it. So that's pretty much about it right there. Maybe a little bit more, depending on where our hole's at too. So now you got to line up the hole. This is about how much preload you kind of want on your bearings, because over, you know, the next couple miles, 100 miles, something like that, you'll come back and actually recheck this. So what you'll do is break that cotter pin out, you'll break the nut, and then what you'll do is reseat the bearings. So you do the same process again after, I think Willwood suggested like 500 miles or something like that. So this is some good rotational force right there. You know, it's not too easy, but it's not too hard. And you know, once the bearings kind of work themselves in, because these are brand new bearings, these brakes are brand new, they probably have less than 10 miles on them, maybe 15 tops, but you know, these are brand new. So we're going to preload them just like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and get some cotter pins in here, put the caps on, and then we're done. That's it. That's the whole process of greasing our brakes. Man, how come the funniest shit never gets recorded? I swear to God. I went to go freaking put this caliper on, and my freaking stool broke. What the frick? Yeah, I just leaned over and almost freaking headbutted the frame, which looked like it did. No, it freaking hurt. Yeah, freaking little spot weld. I'm sure, you know, actually probably like 8-year-old Chinese boy freaking welded up, you know, Harbor Freight special. Whatever, I'll fix it. But what the hell, man? Oh well. Alright, so calipers back on, brakes are all together. I just brake cleaned them all, so they're all nice and clean. No grease on the rotors and pads and stuff like that, you know. And then we still have our nice preload. For some reason this caliper kind of sticks a little bit. Probably just the pads. We'll address it later, or you know, maybe it'll fix itself. But you know, it spins nice and smooth, nice and free. Got our shocks done, which, you know, look awesome in there. So I'm gonna get the wheels back on, get it back on the ground, and yeah, I mean, that's it for today, guys. I think we got a lot of good progress done today. You know, re-greasing stuff, fixing, or you know, kind of figuring out a rear shock issue and stuff like that. So I mean, it's really kind of just doing little things here and there until we get the you know, get it over to the fab guy, and then we can really start making some progress on this thing. So comment down below, guys, what you think of what's going on so far, how we're doing on the build. You know, let us know what you guys want to see more of. If you want to see more of the bodywork stuff, or more of the mechanical side, or you know, kind of both, or just whatever. So we're still going to continue making videos on anything we do, you know, that's kind of worth it. So I think re-greasing, you know, showing you guys how to pack some bearings and put some preload on the new bearings and stuff like that is pretty good to know, especially if, you know, if you plan on figuring it out or plan on going to get an older car that's going to have a spindle mount hub and stuff like that. It's all kind of stuff that we learned all, you know, along the way. So anybody can do it. I definitely encourage you guys to go out there, get your own project, and start, you know, start wrenching, start figuring it out. So what we're doing seems to be working out pretty well. So let us know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next episode.